Hello, this is David, and in this video I'm going to be conducting a technical analysis of my 50 meters freestyle race from the Kenilworth Masters Swimming Meet 2025. I came in with a time of 28.38 seconds, constituting one of the quickest times I've ever swum a 50 meters freestyle. But what did I do well in this race, and where do I have room for improvement? So if you give this video a like, I'd very much appreciate it. Remember to follow and subscribe for more swimming content, but without any further ado, let's dive right in to today's technical analysis. A decent reaction time and underwaters means that I surfaced in and amongst the rest of the competitors in this heat. Still have that side sweep at the start of each stroke, meaning it's not as smooth as I'd like it to be, losing some efficiency there. A decent turn, but could have gone a little bit further with the underwaters. Nice and fast down this back 25, but starting to get a little bit clunky. Only take one breath, which is decent, and come in with a time of 28.38. So overall, this was a race that I was pretty content with. The dive looked pretty reasonable. I surfaced close to the other swimmers in my heat, and unlike my 50 meters butterfly race at this event, didn't seem to lose too much time / distance on my fellow competitors on the dive, so that was good. Again, looking fast with that stroke rate down both lengths. Only took one breath during this 50, and I actually felt really good. In my head, I was thinking, do I try to go for a 0 breath 50 meters freestyle, which I've never achieved before. However, I decided to go with what I typically do and only complete one breath down this 50. Not quite ready to try that 0 breath 50 meters freestyle, but the fact that I was even considering it in this race shows that my hypoxic ability must be coming on if I have the confidence to even consider doing that in this race. So overall, it's looked pretty good. However, some areas for improvement include, first off, my stroke down that race, especially as I was approaching the wall at the 25, looked a little bit clunky. Need to get my shoulders moving a little bit more smoothly, getting my arm entry into the water right above my shoulder so that I'm not sweeping outwards with my hand before initiating the catch. It looked a lot better than my technique at the Trafford Metro Masters Meet 2 months or so prior to this event. However, there's still a little bit of that there, and so the work that I'm doing in training still needs a little bit more to make that technique work a little bit more natural for me. So whilst I'm able to consciously achieve that in my training sessions, I need to keep practicing it so it becomes unconscious and the default thing for me to do, as opposed to go back to what I'm used to, and that's that more clunky freestyle. So really moving those shoulders, really getting that shoulder rotation nice, fluid, smooth and continuous, and focusing on that, because I really think that that's where my increase in speed lies and the potential for a 50 meters freestyle PB later this year. So looking a little bit clunky on the stroke, so need to just focus on that and making sure that that is key. The other thing that I think needed a little bit of work was the turn. A little bit hard to tell from the angle in the video. However, it just looked as though I didn't get much distance off of the wall, and therefore probably need to come a little bit a touch closer to the wall and really push off as hard as I can off of the wall to ensure that I get enough distance. Perhaps there's a little bit of underwater work there, getting in a nice streamlined position and initiating maybe 1 or 2 more fly leg kicks, because it looked as though I only did 2 fly leg kicks underwater. And as this is the second fastest part of the race after the dive, this again is really where I need to be focusing on so that I carry that speed into the second length and into a strong finish. So need to work on the turn, nailing it, hitting it at the right point, really putting as much force as I can into the impulse off of the wall to try and get as much distance off of it and speed off of it as I can. So a little bit of work there needed on tumble turns. I've noticed recently that my turns in training aren't feeling quite as good as what they did towards the back end of last year, so probably need to focus on those just a little bit more to bring them back up to speed and of a high enough quality where I can really push my 50 meters freestyle personal best. Other than that, was nice and strong into the wall, kept my head down, finished well, really tried to smack my hand through that wall, so everything all good on there. So overall, a pretty good 50 meters freestyle, one that I'm really happy with, where just a little bit of touching up and I would have gotten close to my 50 meters freestyle personal best, but naturally having been out of racing for 6 months and only having done one competition up until this point, it's not a surprise to say, it's not a surprise to me that I'm just a little bit rusty on these aspects, especially the race technical areas such as the dive, such as the tumble turns. So a little bit of focus and work on these in training, and I'm sure come October rather, at Masters Nationals, I will be in with a pretty decent chance of a 50 meters freestyle personal best. That is it for today's video, and if you've enjoyed it, please give it a like. Remember to follow and subscribe for more swimming content, and to swim faster on limited training time, head on over to westcough.com. Otherwise, see you in the next video.